Wilt Chamberlain, argued by many to be one of, if not the best basketball player of all time, and also argued by many to be the greatest athlete, period, of all time. Today I'm going to go over his feats and his strengths to see what is plausible, what's unlikely, and what's more verified, what things did happen. And primarily, I'm going to go over his self-proclaimed bench press of 500 pounds is what most people say he could have done. He once claimed 600 pounds, and another weight that was claimed was 465 pounds at the age of 59. I want to premise this video by saying this is in no way to discredit Wilt's elite athleticism and amazing ability to do a numerous amount of sports and athletic accomplishments, accolades. He was an absolutely amazing basketball player and amazing athlete. This is just he oftentimes inflated his ego and claimed a lot of things that were unfathomable, just extremely impressive. And I want to sift through what I think is likely possible, and then the things that are very improbable to maybe even impossible. I want to start it by first going over the many common feats of athleticism and basketball prowess that are said by either him or large groups of people, and then I will later sift through them, putting them into different groups, whether depending on how much I believe they're possible. Incredibly, a lot of common feats of athleticism were made when he participated in track and field events as a young man. One of the first one's going to be he supposedly broad jumped 22 feet, which I do believe this is quoted by many people, but I believe they mean long jump. So I'm going to go over both when clarifying whether I believe it or not, because there's no way he actually broad jumped 22 feet, but that's what's commonly referred to. Okay, he ran a sub 11 second 100 meter dash. He ran 440 yards, or about 400 meters, in 49 seconds. He ran 880 yards, or about a half mile, 800 meters, in 1 minute, 58 seconds. Threw a shot put 53 feet, 4 inches. Also commonly said to have thrown at 56 feet, but I'm going to go over 53 feet. He high jumped 6 feet, 6 inches. And he has been said to have done a triple jump over 50 feet. Okay, the next group of commonly referred to feats, it's going to start off with he has bedded or slept with over 20,000 women. He has benched 500 or 600 pounds, which most of the time is referred to as 500 pounds, but he has claimed before that he benched 600 pounds in his prime. It has also been claimed that he benched 465 pounds at the age of 59. He made it to the Volleyball Hall of Fame after playing his basketball career. He had a supposed 50-inch vertical, self-proclaimed. And that's going to do it for the commonly referred to feats of Wilt Chamberlain. Now we're going to go to the already known basketball accomplishments of one of the greatest players of all time. First one's going to be he holds 5 of the top 7 highest points per game seasons of NBA history, and also holds the top 3 of those 7, so top 3 highest seasons of NBA history. He averaged more than 50 points per game in one season. Just for reference, the second highest scoring season was just under 45 points, which was also held by him, so not that matters comparing him to other people. The third highest season was right around 38.4 points, I believe. And the fourth, which was held by another person, Elgin Baylor, was 38.3 points. So in the top most points per game he's ever scored, he scored nearly 12 points more than the second highest person. He scored 100 points in a single game. He has the record for the most NBA records. He once averaged 48.5 minutes per game in a single season, which is more points or more minutes that are in the average NBA game. So with overtime calculated into every single game, he had an average of 48.5 minutes per game, with him only missing out on one of those games. He has the most 50-point games in a career in NBA history. He's the NBA rebounding leader. He scored 50 points or more in 45 games in one season. He has the most points in a single season, which makes sense because he averaged 50 points per game in a season, with that also being the season that he scored 100 points in one game. He most points played in a single season, obviously. 55 rebounds in a single game is the NBA record. 55 rebounds. That's more than a rebound per minute. And he is the third best player in NBA history. Also, obviously, that's my personal opinion. He's right behind Michael Jordan and LeBron James, but that's some people will argue that he's the best player ever. But even if they don't, that's an amazing accomplishment for someone who as far back as the 60s and the 70s to be able to still say that they were the third best player and arguably the best athlete ever. Now, these, in my opinion, are the most interesting basketball accomplishments that he has to his name, but this is just a tiny, limited list to what he's done. And if you really want to, you can check that out on the internet. It's absolutely amazing how many different records and how variable the records that he holds are. It's pretty incredible. Now we're going to go to ranking the certain feats of strength that I listed, or feats of athleticism that I listed earlier. The first list that I'm going to be going over is the list that is very likely or easily that I think he accomplished it or even verified. Now, the first thing I'm going to put on here is going to be that the fact that he made it to the Volleyball Hall of Fame. It's definitely part of his feats, but it's weird to put it on here because it definitely happened, and you can look it up pretty easily. Now, the next one I'm going to put on here is he triple jumped 50 plus feet. Now, I'm not extremely knowledgeable in the sport of track and field, but he seems like the type of man who would be able to do that type of thing. Lanky, he can obviously very athletic. He's very tall, so I could see him jumping 50 plus feet. Now I could be wrong, and that could be absolutely ridiculous. But please, if you know a lot about track and field, please feel free to leave a comment if that's outrageous. He high jumped 6.5 feet. Now, this is basically verified. He was an extreme high jumper, and he certainly could have went to the Olympics if he could have kept doing it. If he didn't, yeah, have started playing basketball, he was an amazing high jumper. He had the great build for it. He was pretty lanky in his younger years, obviously very tall. He long jumped 22 feet. This is the thing earlier I said how he supposedly broad jumped 22 feet. This is going to be the long jump version. I think it's very plausible that he jumped 22 feet. And in fact, I certainly think he could have done it, like nearly 100%. I don't think that's any challenge that he could have done that. The next group of feats for Wilt Chamberlain is going to be the ones that he could have possibly done, maybe not necessarily had done, but he could have done it. And starting it off, it's going to be he's running a sub 11 second 100 meter dash. Now, obviously, that's very impressive, especially for a man of his size, and really hard to do. But he was a freak athlete, and I could certainly see that it was possible that he had done that. The next one is going to be the running the 440 yards or quarter mile, 400 meters in 49 seconds. I can certainly see this happening, but I'm not 100% sure. That's why I didn't put it in likely. That's obviously extremely impressive, but once again, he wasn't a very impressive athlete. He ran half a mile, 800 meters, 880 yards in 1 minute 58 seconds. Like with the 440 yards, I could see this very well being possible, but I wouldn't quite say that it was likely. especially with him holding a lot of weight for being such a large man. It'd be harder the longer and longer distances you would have went. The next one's going to be throwing a shot put 53 feet 4 inches. Now, this one, I find it very hard for him to have done, but I do not know enough about shot put to put it in improbable, very, very unlikely that he could have done that. Please leave a comment below if you know a lot about shot put and whether you think a 7'2", 275-pound man could have done that in his younger years. I'm not quite sure what he weighed back then, but let me know if you think he could have done that. So I'm gonna put it, since I'm unsure, in the uh, possible category. Okay, the next list is gonna be the improbable, or extremely unlikely. Some would even say impossible feats that Wilt Chamberlain accrued over his lifetime. The first one is going to be he bedded or slept with over 20,000 women. Now, that is a extremely large number, and it's kind of hard to fathom at some points. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. He said this in an interview, I believe, multiple times in his lifetime, and it's just a ridiculous number that is absolutely absurd and just doesn't make any sense. Say he went for an hour of sex per woman, that would be 2.5 years of sex in straight, just 2.5 years. That's absolutely absurd. Now, obviously, you can do it with multiple women at a time, and he was noted to say that he really enjoyed threesomes with women, but this number is absolutely absurd. If he were to say that he has had sex 20,000 times, I would wholeheartedly believe that, and I think that's honestly likely, but 20,000 separate women, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Not to say that this man did not sleep with an absurd amount of women. He certainly did. He was extremely popular. He never married, never, as far as I know, been in a decently long relationship. So I certainly believe that he slept with a lot of women. But I think the number 20,000 is absolutely absurd. The next feat that Wilt Chamberlain has done in his lifetime, it's going to be a feat of athleticism. It's going to be broad jump 22 feet. Like I said earlier, I think this is just a misconception. I think people meant to say long jump because the world record for the broad jump, I believe, is around 12 feet. So this man would have nearly doubled it. Now, if you don't know, a broad jump is where you plant both feet at an area and without running or movement at all, you just jump to the next distance. Now, I want you to measure out 22 feet and say that is fucking anything but ridiculous. I want you to just long jump it, run and jump over that length of distance. That is extremely impressive. Very impressive. But a broad jump is just absolutely absurd. And people who actually believe that, unless they don't know what a broad jump is, it's just unbelievable. Doesn't make any sense at all. Now, the next absolute just insane feat, it's going to be a feat of strength, is the fact that Wilt Chamberlain bench pressed 5 or even 600 pounds. Now, that is an absolutely extreme number, 500 pounds. Now, for reference, Wilt Chamberlain was a 7'1" man with he weighed 275 pounds, and his wingspan was 7'8". This man's wingspan was fucking enormous. Now, to just think that that's okay, 275-pound man benching 500 pounds, that is the elite of the elite. When you have a 7'8" wingspan, a plus 7-inch wingspan on your height, just to think that you can bench press 5 plates, that is absolutely astronomical. And just to top that off, he claimed more than that, claiming that he has benched 600 pounds. 500 pounds is absolutely incredible. I would have been extremely impressed if he could have benched like 555 if he had focused on benching and not basketball. That's just an extreme claim to have benched 600 pounds. Even 500 pounds. That is absolutely insane to have claimed, and I think that's why I'm putting it on here. Just to add to the fact that he claimed to have benched 500 or 600 pounds, let's say he benched 600 pounds. I didn't put this on because I don't think that's quite as nearly as impressive. It isn't as what he has claimed to have benched, but his deadlift is apparently 625 pounds. If you deadlift 25 pounds above your max bench press, you have something incredibly wrong, especially if you have a plus 7-inch wingspan, 7'8" wingspan, and you can only deadlift 25 pounds over your bench press. There's something extremely wrong with the way you're lifting. Whether just absurd. Okay, the final impossible feat of strength is going to be Wilt Chamberlain apparently benching 465 pounds at the age of nearly 60. Supposedly at 59 years old, this man benched 465 pounds. Let alone his height and his absurd wingspan to height ratio. Benching 465 at 59 years old is more impressive than benching 600 pounds at 275. That's even more ridiculous. A 59-year-old man. My my grandfather is just about that age, and he's been lifting with me. He has a hard time benching triple digits, and he's weighing about 160. And he's a fit man. That is absurd to claim that you could have benched 465. That's a ridiculous claim. You have to push it up 5 feet in the air with a 7'8" wingspan. That's an exaggeration, but still, to claim that is just absolutely ridiculous. Okay, now I'm done with that category. That's enough bashing of Wilt Chamberlain. I want to finish off this video as saying Wilt Chamberlain was an extremely incredible athlete. He was, despite everything I've said about dissing his apparent feats of strength, athleticism, and sexual ability. He is an absolutely incredible man and will always be known as one of the best athletes in the world. And I just want to say that I'm not trying to take away from his legacy. He just had a like to really inflate his ego with some ridiculous numbers. And the fact that some people believe these things is just a testament to how incredible of a man he was. The fact that people believe he could have broad jumped 22 feet, believed he could have bench pressed 600 pounds, and that would have been a leap for a power lifter. Okay, that's gonna be it. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and have a great day.